And we're live. There we go. Hey there, already botched up. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to my channel. It's me, Gamerturk, and this is a special day. Today is April 23rd, which is just a normal day in the world in general. But today is the day the Turkish Republic was founded, all the way back in 1900s, early 1900s. And later that day was gifted to the children of the world in general, because they were seen by our founder Atatürk as the hope for the future, you know, that kind of stuff. So we do care about the children, and I am gonna get my contribution going by teaching some children how to actually properly read what they're reading in regards to, where's my book? Sword Online, a light novel that was written for teenagers and young adults with relatively simple stuff, basic concepts, imagery, you know, all the kinds of stuff that they teach you at middle school. These people don't know it, so we're gonna teach them. That's a lengthy intro. So what we're gonna do today is, I am pretty sure most of you at the very least are familiar with a live stream I did about 2 months ago, almost 3 months ago actually, on February 1st. It was basically me covering an entire, Facebook chat with one of these power scalers. It was 3.5 hours. So what happened obviously is that power scalers don't particularly like it when you challenge their headcanon with actual facts. So, as expected of them, I got a bunch of comments that I want to go through under this video to teach these little 10-year-old middle school rejects of some basic reading comprehension. Of course, one of those common things that you'll see across the board with these kinds of people is that they have absolutely shit control of their typos. Everything is in constant typos, no matter how many times they edit their post. And they'll have broken grammar here and there, and they will keep saying the exact same thing over and over, because that one guy over at VsWiki who wrote their headcanon down for people to read, that's what he said, and these are all regurgitating that exact same information. So, as I said, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go through the comments section and answer some stuff. Mainly, this is the highlighted comment, because this is the person that actually made me go, okay, we're doing this again. That's why you see there are 26 replies over there. That is intentional, because I kept going on purpose to be able to turn this into a nice little live stream where we can, you know, chat and have some fun with the idiotic stuff that they come up with. But there are also some other people over here who have nothing different, really, the exact same arguments. But yeah, this is gonna be our main focus. And before we begin, I have some disclaimers, of course. Not because something is gonna happen to this video, but I'll read through and then I'll explain. I have all of this written in a nice little language right there to be, you know, proper. So I'm gonna read it from my own notes. We'll get back to the actual comments right after this one. So, first one. This livestream features comments made publicly on my videos under the assumption of fake names as well as straight up anonymity based on common practices on the platform that is YouTube. No real personal information is showcased, and all comments that feature personal information, like emails, links that lead to personal websites that can help you identify certain people, these are always removed, as is the policy on my entire channel. I always remove these comments, so nothing personally identifiable from these people should be here. Secondly, this live stream is not aimed at kids, despite having the title it is. I explained it at the very beginning. Today is a special day, and we are attending to some special people for that day. This livestream is not aimed at kids, as the topic in question, Sword Online, has a PG-13 rating worldwide and should not be watched by children anyways. That's the legal thing for me to not get flagged as, for this livestream to not get flagged as a content for kids, because it isn't, quite obviously. Now, next one. This live stream is strictly educational. It features factually incorrect statements by individuals on the internet that I aim to correct throughout the entire stream. The goal of the stream is not to insult these people, but correct them with factual information. And in addition to that third disclaimer, our fourth and last one, this livestream features a lot of sarcasm, possibly strong language, as well as social commentary on certain topics. Remarks made about the education levels of certain groups of people are not to be taken as comments aimed at those individuals specifically, but rather a commentary on the state of education systems failing to bring up upstanding human beings around the world who are incapable of basic reading comprehension, spelling, and/or grammar when discussing about a book series aimed at young teenagers. Now, you may think these legal disclaimers are a bit too much. The thing is, the reason I feature them at the beginning of the stream is because these people have actually started mass reporting campaigns on the previous live stream that I'm featuring over here all the way back when I made it, which is, quite a petty thing to do. I'm still reading my text because this all ties into all the disclaimers. I know because for these kinds of serious reports, YouTube actually does send you email notifications telling you, yo, people are actually reporting this video of yours because of this reason. You may want to check the video that you did and fix stuff before we manually review things. Now, of course, I didn't do any changes because, I was already multiple steps ahead of these people. I covered all my bases here, and after YouTube's manual check, nothing came out. The video is still standing as is. But these disclaimers that I made, they should make it a little bit more easier for YouTube to, if they start those petty reporting campaigns, this is gonna make YouTube easier to actually decide what's going on. Nothing is gonna touch me anyways. But yeah, with that out of the way, hey there everyone, welcome. Ooh, already 40 people up there. Nice. Let me quickly have a look at the chat while I give you the nice background picture, and then we'll start with the comments. I actually want to go ahead and grab something to drink as well because my mouth is dry after reading all that stuff. Go like the video, it takes 2 seconds. Yes, please do. How are you? I love your channel. Thank you, I'm doing good. How about you? How do you like my slightly formal dressing for a slightly formal day in Turkey? So we get to mock some idiots? No, we are not mocking people. We are educating people and pointing out where they're being an idiot for educational purposes. Yes, indeed, I am lying to make Kirito weaker. That's what we do here. I hate these characters. All my entire purpose in life is to make them sound weaker than they are. His name is Kirito the Lord Chat. How much of a fanboy do you want to be? Just want to ask real quick, will spoilers dip into Untitled Ring or just through Alicization Moon Cradle? There will be very minor spoilers from Untitled Ring. That's why I have the disclaimer put up again on top of the screen. Right here. I am not sure if you're seeing my mouse cursor. I think you should. That's why I put it up. But again, it's a very, it's a single, very minor spoiler from Untitled Ring that doesn't tie into anything Untitled Ring related. I'll put it that way. But yeah, still, just to be safe, I put it up there. We do not mock people. That is not what we do. Don't mock people. But okay. I'll go grab something to drink and then we'll start. Takes a bit for the cold water to come. Yup, no worries, that's perfectly fine. So, let's start. Let's go down. So, okay. As for context, I have provided it, but again, this was a live stream I did 2-3 months ago, going over an entire conversation I had with one of these power scalers. And naturally, those power scalers didn't like the fact that I provided some factual stuff to push back their headcanon. So we got tons of comments, and we'll go through those comments, mainly from the person who really pushed me to making this second live stream as a follow-up, Kirito the Lord Chad, as he is called. So, let's start. Okay, I can see why you would try. Is the screen size enough, by the way? Also, I see my chat is kinda blocking the comments, so maybe I switch it up over here, the right side, and bring Klein somewhere else. I don't know, put Klein over here. Yep, he looks nice as a little figure up there. Good. That does the trick. Okay. I can see why I try to imply. I am gonna make a lot of fun with their typos, by the way, just so you know. Okay, I can see why you try to imply those things didn't happen. But bro, come on, Kirito right now have Floodlight soul warping ability. He learned from Quinella in his 200 years. In VsWiki, we clearly told how he and Asuna break all Quinella secrets during 200 years. Let's start with this one. Kirito right now has Floodlight soul warping ability he learned from Quinella. Kirito doesn't learn anything from Quinella. He didn't learn anything from Quinella. Most of these people think Kirito like magically inherited stuff from Quinella when he defeated her. Solely because at the end when he's fighting Gabriel Miller, you know, Berkuli comes up, Cardinal comes up, Administrator comes up, Shasta and Lipia come up and say things to him. And what Quinella says is, show the power knowledge you inherited from me, from our battle. And it is a symbolic sentence stating what Kirito has learned, literally has learned during their battle. And what did Kirito learn during their battle? It's the fact that, you know, make peace with your past, embrace who you are, embrace all those, you know, regrets, mistakes of the past, and just accept you are the Black Swordsman, that the Black Swordsman persona is a part of you. And that's exactly what he did, and that's how he managed to defeat Quinella, and that's what Quinella's memory was referring to. What you have inherited from our fight, yes, your power comes from the fact that you are a Black Swordsman. Your power comes from the fact that you have this entire history, whether it's filled with regrets or happiness, it comes from your past, so just embrace that past. That was what Kirito has learned. And then it's referring to the 200-year period that Kirito and Asuna learned all of Quinella's secrets. And that comes down to the fact that it's just system commands. Like, that's the thing. Quinella does not have any kind of secret towards people who come from the outside. What she knows sounds like secrets to the inhabitants of the world because, you know, it's an entire magic system that they learned from their childhood. Whereas for someone who comes out from the outside world, it's just system commands. It's very basic computer-related stuff. And yes, in a sense, you know, those secrets were revealed by Kirito and Asuna throughout the 200 years, one way or another. But that doesn't change the fact that they're completely irrelevant. They're just system commands. Outside, Kikoka, Higa, all the other programmers that are at Wrath, they already know all of these. There are no secrets in there. The people don't get this. These people don't get this. Like, Quinella is just chaining one command after the other, just like any programmer would who designed these system calls. And that's pretty much it. How long did it take for that first sentence to be rebutted. Okay, we're 15 minutes into the stream. I'm hoping I didn't take 10 minutes speaking over this because it's such a basic stuff. Kirito can't do that. That's not how Underworld works. Exactly. I keep saying this every single time. People think by killing Quinella, he just inherited magical stuff from Quinella, as if this is destiny. And you just kill a hive god with their sword and use sword logic to inherit all their power and stuff. No. Just no. Oh, that's something. And that was loud because I forgot to put this thing in. Hey, we got a new patron. That's a surprise. So much of a surprise that I didn't even change the notifications for patrons. Welcome aboard, man. Thank you. Thank you. I will update the Patreon notifications on stream next time around. It's throughout all my streaming the past couple of years, this is the first time we got a Patreon notification show up on the stream overlay. Thank you. Welcome. Second one, Kirito can also just manipulate himself to victory using his mind and incarnation if someone doesn't have the same powers with a capital P as him. Again, incarnation, they will just lose. He can also turn anyone into a tree at any time or just turn them into babies like he did to the baby dragons. Okay, a couple of things to explain here. The second half, I'll give it to the person. I understand exactly why that misconception exists, and that's a completely understandable misconception to have. I will get to this in a second. Let's cover the first half. He can just manipulate himself to victory using his mind and incarnation. That's not how incarnation works. You can't manipulate yourself into winning. I can chalk this off to his broken grammar, but I want to get this out properly. This stems from the fact that the anime did not properly explain incarnation in the first place. Incarnation is not a system where you go, okay, I believe in this, that's gonna happen. And I believe the person also knows this because throughout the conversation, he mentioned some other things that implies that he should know it. But he's just ignoring that bit of information because it doesn't help his case. It hinders his case. So he's just ignoring that portion here as well as later on in the conversation when we get to it. But what happens with incarnation is that it is both a conscious as well as your subconscious thoughts mattering into what the main visualizer takes as data to create the world. This is too much of an explanation, but if I have to abridge it, hey there, Val, welcome. If I have to abridge it shortly to not waste too much time here, because we talked about incarnation all the time, here in the previous Power Scaler stream, the entire Alicization explained. I have an entire video talking about how incarnation works. So to put it shortly, the main visualizer is the place that takes the memory data from all the living inhabitants of this world, and instead of processing it all, it kind of uses those memory data as the processing power and creates something like a shared dream that exists from the collective memories that is streamed to it. So what happens is that if you have certain beliefs, both conscious and subconscious, they can temporarily manifest through these shared dreams. That's what the main visualizer does. But the thing is, incarnation itself is temporary. There is still a proper simulation going on in the background that is constantly syncing up with the main visualizer, and the moment that it syncs up with the main visualizer, the incarnation just disappears. And you have to try to get it to manifest again, etc., etc. So it's a temporary it's a temporary change to the collective dream that people are having. Of course, as I said, you can't just will yourself into victory. You have to actually do stuff rather than just willing yourself to victory, because that's not how it works. Now, the second part, he can also just turn anyone into a tree at any time or just turn them into babies like he did to baby dragons. Now, the reason Kirito has specific powers that he has after waking up, and I'll list you a few, Two of them are here, turning Po into a tree, turning Amayori Amayori and Takiguri, I believe, into baby dragons. Then he can just instantly create elements around him to fly with Asuna. Another thing he does, he senses exactly where Alice and Gabrielle Miller are, and that's why he's so confidently flying. All of those and many more things he accomplishes during that time is because Higa, for Kirito to wake up, there were 3 connections: Sugua, Shinon, and Asuna. Those were already connected via the STL to Kirito's mind, but when Higa was trying to move forward with the process, he realized something else was connecting to it. And you saw this in the anime as well. It was very nicely portrayed and even mentioned in the anime. It's that there was an object trying to connect to Kirito's mind as well, along with those 3. And that was Yu-Gi-Oh's soul fragment that was stuck inside the Blue Rose sword. And for an object to connect over to Kirito's STL, Kirito had to be directly connected to the main visualizer itself. So once he wakes up, he is directly connected to the main visualizer rather than any other person who takes place inside this world. As a result, he has a much more uninterrupted connection to the main visualizer, and thus has a much precise and direct control over the data that's inside the main visualizer. That's why he can just stream the memory data of his sword into Po and turn him into a tree. That's why he can sense exactly where Alice and Gabrielle Miller are, etc., etc. So yeah, this is kind of an understandable misunderstanding, but it's nevertheless a misunderstanding. Okay, I love this, the ice ability. People keep mentioning this without understanding what it even is. Anyways, let's get to it. Should I have a look at the chat from time to time? Do you guys want me to answer your questions here and there? I can do it. It'll be a nice break from the idiocy. Why did Cardinal have to die? You can go ahead and check Alicization explained of that specific episode. I did explain it quite elaborately over there. Have you heard about the Demon Slayer movie coming out today? No, I have not. It's been a while, but was he even the one to kill Quinella? No, he didn't kill Quinella. He lost against Quinella. As a fan, I'm not knowledgeable. I'm learning more every time. Thank you for all the ways telling me what's right and wrong about the last Sword Online season, War of Underworld. War of Underworld is not the last season. That was also a complete miscommunication from the Japanese side over to the English side. It's just the last part of the 3rd season. But you're welcome. I'm glad I can be helpful. But again, as I always say, don't take what I say for granted, Check for yourselves. It's simple books. You can go ahead and read them, and as long as you have a better reading comprehension than these people, you'll get the information yourself, even if you don't believe me. No, the chat is quite lively for the stream. I should make more of these streams. I should, talk with power scalers more often and do more streams. This seems to be something people enjoy. Oh, you like the shirt I'm wearing right now? It's the last word shirt that I got from Destiny. I really like it. This is the first time I'm wearing it, despite getting it sometime last year. I really like it. I have one question. If Pitoi was not able to log into SAO, how was Po able to log in? Pito was a beta tester after all. Again, check the specific episode where I talked about Poe's past, because Poe's entire backstory was completely butchered in the anime. There are a whole lot of very specific requirements for you to be able to dive into SAO after the game actually launched. If this stream doesn't take too long, please ask again towards the end and I can explain it. But otherwise, you can just go ahead and watch the Alicization Explained episode. I explained it over there. United Ring's final season. As far as we know, Reiki wants it to be the final SAO story, yes. I feel like Dub Kirito makes Sub Kirito looks way worse. The American dubbing industry makes plenty of characters look worse than they actually are because they try to fit character voices into specific archetypes that the mainstream audiences would relate with. What wasn't butchered in the anime? Okay, let's continue with the ice stuff. His most OP ability is his ice ability. He can freeze at absolute T0 every being, and those frozen can't reach at all since the cold is too much for them, and their thought process with a single S is stopped with a single P. The only way someone can get out of it is by using Incarnation. Now the thing is, people think in real world logic when they think about what's happening when the enhanced armament or perfect weapon control of the Blue Rose sword is used. Because in real life, for something to be frozen, the temperature has to be so fucking low. The thing is, Blue Rose sword doesn't freeze something. Blue Rose sword's ability is to generate ice. So it's just, you slam it and ice is coming from the floor, that's pretty fucking obvious. It's not freezing the ground to create the ice, it's just creating ice at that moment using the spatial resources around. So what happens is, it doesn't freeze the opponent, it just encapsulates the opponent within that chunk of ice. So the temperature around is literally completely irrelevant for what's happening there. It's literally just creating the chunk of ice and trapping the opponent within. That's what happens when trapping Berkuli, although Berkuli's situation, it's in the entire bath. So once everything is frozen, the actual water there gets frozen as well, and that's what Berkuli gets trapped in. That's a slightly different scenario. Everything else, completely dry place, still encapsulating people in that huge chunk of ice. That's what happened to Fanatio, that's what happened to Alice, that's what happened to... Did he do it to Chudelkin? No, not to Chudelkin. Nothing was done to Quinella on that front. Then we have to move over to War of Underworld, and there we have Poe. The entire Red Army gets frozen the exact same way. That's what happens to Gabriel as well. Not entirely encapsulated, but the thorny vines stop him wiggling around his arms and legs. And then that's exactly what happens to the entire abyssal horror as well. There is nothing in space. If there's nothing, you literally can't freeze it. And people think it's actually being frozen by decreasing the temperature, and that's why people think, oh, it can freeze at absolute zero as well. Newsflash, absolute zero, everything is already frozen. It just occurred to me, people don't even realize that. Absolute zero is something where there's absolutely no atomic movement at all. That means everything is actually frozen anyways. There's nothing to freeze at absolute zero. Also, I have no idea why people come up with absolute zero in this argument as well. It really doesn't fit. It is not in the extreme void of space. It's relatively outer atmosphere of Cardina, because it's been 10 minutes since the Dragon Jets have taken off. It hasn't been like an hour or two for them to be actually in proper space. And even in proper space, if I am not mistaken, I am not an astrophysicist, but even in space, it's never absolute zero as far as I know. Because there is still light coming your way, and that light heats you up. Like, you can go watch You can potentially watch people like what was his name? The astronaut guy from NASA with the nice mustache as well. He knows really good Russian and stuff. That guy is quite informative. Neil deGrasse Tyson would be very informative on spacey stuff. Elon Musk, you can probably hear some nice fun stuff about the challenges they're having. But the gist of it is, even space is not absolute zero, so this is also a perfectly non-argument. I know I am jumping from topic to topic, but within a single sentence, there's so much wrong stuff. You know, like applying real-world logic, applying it false in the first place, completely ignoring how stuff works. Okay, Nightbot seems to have dealt some justice. I have no idea what happened there, but I'm assuming that is spamming emotes. Yes, please don't spam emotes. Oh, people are talking about CBR. CBR is a terrible source. Don't follow CBR. I have a question, which is stronger. Don't ask me stupid power scaling questions. I will not answer at all. I am just here to clear out stupidity. I am not here to create more stupidity. So yeah, there are many things that made Kirito beat many characters with equal stats. Naruto, DBZ, etc, etc. Is that an etc or is it etc? From World of Warcraft. And then he mentions, we already went through this on our VsWiki. See, that's the problem. Your SAO people at VsWiki, they don't know how to read books. They don't understand basic sentences written for young adults and teenagers to read. Like, this gives you negative credibility when you mention. This makes everybody laugh at you when you mention stuff. There's a reason why YouTube people laugh at these people. There's a reason why Reddit people laugh at these people. There's a reason why Discord communities laugh at these people. Because they're idiots. Okay, let's continue. And yeah, this is basically my response in short manners without being too entertaining. I am trying to be entertaining when I'm explaining stuff, by the way. If it doesn't come off, please tell me so I don't embarrass myself by trying to be entertaining. What are we gonna do once SAO ends? I don't know. Sonic stuff? I'll find something. SAO is nowhere near ending anyways. Anyways, as I said, secrets are just system commands. Sigan Kikoka or any simple program rat already knows everything. And then explaining, you know, show the power you inherited from me, etc. And then he comes back. When I said people who don't have the same power as him, I referred to people from other franchises. So it's basically trying to pit other characters against Kirito in this case. And he goes, if they can't change the reality or manipulate okay, law and probability, they will always lose to Kirito, since Kirito would just think to the subconscious level that he is stronger. You see, this is where he mentions that incarnation works on a subconscious level, but completely ignores the fact that specifically because of this, Kirito failed multiple times. Back at the academy, when he was trying out the black one for the first time, he failed to do vertical square, I believe, not arc. Square, the 4-hit skill. He failed to do it because he subconsciously doubted he would be able to do it. He actively fucked himself. Then again, where did he fuck himself? He does it quite often. So I'm trying to not jump over anything he did. Yeah, I don't think I'm missing anything there. Next one is when he fries his own brain, because he subconsciously, he literally wanted to no longer exist and just fried his own brain. That's an instant loss. Like, if you pit him against people from other franchises, giving Kirito the power to have incarnation, Well, the other opponent doesn't have to do anything. Kirito will just kill himself the first second. It's very convenient. He also mentions weird stuff like, I understand changing the reality to a certain extent, despite being in a fucking computer game. I can change fucking reality when I'm playing City Skylines over here on my PC. I guess I'm as powerful as Kirito's Underworld self. But he also mentions he manipulates law and probability. Kirito is Scarlet Witch confirmed? It's really funny stuff that they mention here that have nothing to do with whatever the fuck is supposed to be happening. Right, it was a 5-hit skill. Right, because he did achieve... He did horizontal square, I believe. Because in the anime it showed the squares going sideways. That's the area of effect for horizontal square. The thing is, the skill he tried using during his training is what he tries doing against Volo as well. That's why they shine both orange, and that was vertical arc instead to block off Volo's attacks consecutively. But I do remember it being 5-hit skill. The problem is there aren't actually 5-hit sword skills in the one-handed sword category. I mean, I can double check again, but one-handed swords don't have a 5-hit skill. Deadly Sins, 7 hits. Horizontal Square, 4 hits. Howling Octave, 8 hits. Lightning Fall, 1 hit. Nova Ascension, the most powerful skill, is 10 hits. Savage Fulcrum, 3. Sharp Nail, 3. Vertical Square, 4. So yeah. He did use Vertical Square against Volo. So again, I'm pretty sure I need to double check with the books on that front. But that doesn't change the context. That's a detail that I'll check afterwards. The context exactly remains the same. Kirito fucks himself over with Incarnation all the time. What else can I mention? He rips his heart out. That's part of his Incarnation as well. The entire nightmare sequence is his Incarnation. Then, when he's flying over to Gabrielle while carrying Asuna, he literally goes blank for a second, drops Asuna, and then has to recover from all of that simply because he's not pleasant in his own subconscious. Against Gabe, similar things constantly happen. What the fuck? Why is Nightbot removing a single hello message telling people to stop spamming emotes? Are you actually stupid, Nightbot? That's interesting. Try not to say hello, I guess. Nah, he didn't try skill connect there. Yeah, the thing is, he doesn't even mention what sword skill he was gonna try. He just says 5-hit skill, and then he tries doing it. Ban Nightbot. Anyways, where were we? Like, the subconscious level. And then he says manipulate law. Law is like... It's law. It has nothing to do with Incarnation. And then he mentions probability as well. And later on in the discussion, it'll come back again. So I'm glossing over than that. If they believe they are weaker, reality will be rewritten and Kirito will win. Again, we explained that is not how Incarnation works. And it says, my guy, it literally says he frezzed them, not that it only trapped them in something. Yeah, but trapping someone in ice, that is freezing. That is, in that context, that is freezing. That's the thing. Sometimes when it benefits them, they try to be extremely literal. When it doesn't benefit them, they go through these hoops to make certain I don't want to say deductions because they are not deducing anything, but they're coming up with this headcanon through jumping through hoops and stuff. It's genuinely mind-boggling. Like, pick a stance. Are you gonna be really literal, or are you gonna fucking jump through hoops to get to where you wanna be? It's one of the two. You can't have both. Plus, you didn't answer to my reality warping and probability manipulation and law manipulation and soul manipulation is happening now, by the way. And then I am being blamed for being another Goku fan who won't accept Kirito destroys him. Now, I am not a Goku fan. I have never watched Dragon Ball in my life. I have never played any of the Dragon Ball games in my life. But fucking hell, Kirito doesn't destroy Goku. Goku has like magical alien powers. Kirito doesn't. He's a high school kid. Like, he can't even hold on to a sword in his hand properly in real life after getting out of Underworld. Of course, the anime portrayed it differently with the Shinai breaking when they clashed with Alice, but what happened in the light novels is that they clashed, and because one was a prototype robot while the other was a high school kid that was in a coma for a month or two, a month, not two, he literally couldn't hold the sword in his hand, and the sword slipped from both of their hands, you know, crashing elsewhere. He literally can't hold the sword in real life, and this guy is saying, oh, he can totally destroy the alien guy who can do a fucking Kamehameha or whatever it's called. And then I answer, yeah, that's not how subconscious works. I'm trying to explain what I did, you know, Kirito just kills himself. Then he goes, that's my answer to his, actually, in fact, I should probably show them both at the same time when I'm explaining so you can see a clear text as well, instead of my mumbling all the time. Nightbot, can you stop terrorizing people in the chat? Jesus Christ. Yeah, I do remember that. The problem is I can't give you a name because a 5-hit skill doesn't exist for all intents and purposes. Obviously, it exists, but we are never provided the fact that it exists. Soul manipulation, where did that come from? There are something similar later into the convo. Once we get there, I guess he meant that, like overwriting Poe with his 3 memory from the black one. But I didn't understand it all when I was reading that. Just hit all those people with a, can he beat Goku though? I don't understand, why does everybody try to pit people against Goku? I don't know, maybe some Dragon Ball fans who watched it can tell me why everyone's comparing to Goku and stuff. I'm just saying, Kirito is a high schooler with no special powers. That's all that needs to be said. Kirito or Lightning McQueen? I know, man, that's a pretty hard question. Lightning McQueen is speed. For a 5-part skill to appear in progressive, you're gonna have to wait a couple more years. It's gonna take a long time. Except for Mito. We have seen her do a 5-hit sword skill in the fucking trailer, which is quite otherworldly. Shouldn't be happening. But yeah, moving on. Okay, let me open this up as well as my reply. The fact that he put so many spaces in between is quite annoying. He's not even consistent with the spacing, which is a massive nitpick on my end, sure, but come on. 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces, 4 spaces. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, he's now saying I don't get what he told me. If Kirito fights someone who don't have incarnation, he will just believe in himself that he can win and that his opponent will lose. Incarnation will rewrite the reality in his favor. This is the third time that I have to say that is not how incarnation works. Yes. Again, tell me how so that Kirito don't warp reality, law, and probability. It's shown in the show and light novel. Are you dodging the question? As you can see, I am answering every single question, but I will be blamed a dozen times for dodging questions. You be the judge. I am showing you every single answer as I go along, as well as, answering stuff here live. In the Gameverse, they change hits. I'm not sure about the anime. Anime is consistent with the hit counts. The problem is anime is not consistent at providing information and is not consistent with its color schemes. You can see one skill go orange at one scene, then the exact same skill go green the next one. That's where the anime completely fails, and where anime gets a bit blurry as well is when skill connect is introduced, because that fucks up stuff. The anime never explains what skill connect is, so you'll see random skills being launched back to back without even realizing what the fuck is happening. The anime is also not consistent with the general move schemes of the skills. It was actually quite decent during the Alicization adaptation. Like, you can clearly see certain skills being done. Vertical arc is gonna be pretty clear V shape. Sharp nail coming back from the thing with 3 hits, etc, etc. Those kinds of stuff Alicization anime really got right. Credit where credit is due, no matter how botched of an adaptation it was. Alicization anime really did pay attention to the skills until until Mother's Rosario happened, because whatever Asuna used there flying all around the map, that was not Mother's Rosario. Oh yeah, like the animation style of it, in general, they take quite a lot of liberties to make it look good. Where was I? Keep forgetting where I am. Yeah, Kirito doesn't warp reality. Kirito doesn't warp reality any more than me playing Civilization or City Skylines here on my own PC. Law and probability, those are words. I don't think they are what you think they are. Like I said, if Kirito opponent don't have incarnation, he automatically loses. No, if Kirito has incarnation, he automatically loses, because Kirito really likes to kill himself. That's one of his traits. So if Liz Shilika would fight him, even if they were equal in power and speed, he would still win, since he would just rewrite the again. That is not how incarnation works. I'm tired of repeating the same thing. Give me something new to say, god damn it. Like incarnation, just make your opponent lose. Sure, buddy. Oh yeah, and in VsWiki we showed he absorbed real. This comes out of nowhere. He's like, oh yeah, and we have this. And what they have at VsWiki, depending on how serious you take them, we showed he absorbed real stars. That's why he is now 4B instead of possibly 4B. The people here do not understand what's happening in that scene at all. I say this over and over. I covered it in my episode explained video. I covered it in this video right here, the live stream. None of those are real stars. When Kirito uses Release Recollection with the Night Sky Sword, a beam shoots up and covers the underworld sky. That literally cuts it off from the rest of the space above, because that's a blanket put over the underworld. You can no longer see any of the stars above. That is now just a ceiling over underworld. And then what happens? People start praying, and their prayers, in this case incarnation, we know incarnation manipulates the sacred arts around. So what happens? Those shiny sacred arts generations start going up towards the ceiling as people are praying towards the sky. And once they touch over to the ceiling that is connected to the night sky sword, night sky blade, I should say, because that's the official translation, but I keep going with night sky sword. They go over, touch the night sky sword's release collection, and the night sky sword just starts absorbing all those spatial resources and then bursts them back into Gabrielle Miller. Now, one of the key things, clearly stating they are not stars, is that they're literally the thoughts and prayers of people, because they are directed right into Gabrielle Miller's own brain to process, which he cannot handle and dies. If they were real stars, there would be no memory data at all for Gabrielle Miller to process, and Gabrielle Miller wouldn't die. But they aren't stars. They are thoughts and prayers. They are memory data to be processed by Gabrielle Miller that causes him to die. It's simple stuff. Like, these people, they just read a single sentence, take what they want from it, forget that exists, move on to the next sentence, read that, take what they want, forget it, move over to the next one, and so on and so on. They have zero understanding of any kind of context. And that's their problem. They have way too many problems, but that's one of their problems. They don't understand context. They don't understand imagery. They don't understand what a narrator is. We're gonna get there. I don't think we're even halfway through. This is once again taking a bit longer than I intended it to. But they don't even understand what a narrator is. And I'll get to when I have to speak about it, because I will. Because the type of narrator Reki uses, he even mentions it in his afterword, either after Alicization exploding or Alicization not awakening. Anyway, volume 15 and 16. In one of those, in the afterword, he mentions it. The type of narrators he uses throughout the series. He doesn't have a single type of narrator. That's the key bit. Now I got stuck on the fact that I couldn't remember the title of the book. Invading. Yep, invading. And it's not invading, so it's gonna be in Alicization exploding, probably the afterword, where he talks about the types of narrators that he uses, because he uses multiple. Oh, would you look at that? I am getting blamed for ignoring the facts, by the way, after literally answering everything bit by bit. Yeah, this was the portion where I decided, we can probably have a nice stream of this. I just tried to have a little bit of fun as I'm writing stuff. If Kirito fights someone who doesn't have incarnation, this is my response. I just want to remember what I said. Subconsciousness, subconscious, you can't control it, exactly. Oh yeah, this is gonna tie into what's gonna happen next. I specifically do remember this. Yeah, you see, this is very simple. It says Kirito warps reality. I just quoted where he's blaming me of saying this. And I'm saying, yes, Kirito doesn't warp reality because he doesn't have access to incarnation in the actual real world, does he? That should be pretty clear. That's one of the clearest things in the entire thing. For you to be able to warp reality, you need to be in reality. Not in a game, not in a simulation, not in a computer program. Because if changing stuff in a computer program is reality warping abilities, every single person has reality warping abilities. Because it's a computer program for you to alter to fucking people. Ah. Oh yeah. If Kirito has access to incarnation, he'll automatically lose because he'll kill himself before his opponent does anything at all. That's Kirito's trademark. Such power, much wow. like whenever someone says Kirito absorbs real stars, you can just disregard those people as not knowing what the fuck they just read. It's very simple, really. Okay, moving over to the next one. Then he tries explaining he is replying to Incarnation, I guess. He doesn't know how the replies with quotes work, I guess. In versus battles, the opponents fight in neutral verse, neutral area, so only Kirito would have Incarnation while his opponent won't. This is one of those things that you'll hear a lot from the versus battle wiki people. The thing is, it's a nice concept. Neutral verse is a nice concept. You know, I don't like power scaling, but bringing people to a standardized place, good idea. If your goal is to absolutely pit Superman against Bugs Bunny, yes, bring them to an equal ground that wouldn't give anyone additional benefits than their actual abilities. The problem is this doesn't work with every single character. This works with characters who have inherent abilities themselves, because you're bringing the character with his powers and stuff into a world where he won't have additional benefits from the environment. The thing about Sword Art Online characters is Sword Art Online characters don't have inherent powers on their own. They are regular people in real life. So, what happens when you bring Kirito into this so-called neutral verse, which is a good idea on its own, it doesn't work, because you're bringing the high school kid Kirito into neutral verse, where he's just a high school kid. Now this guy and many other versus battle people insist that Kirito comes in with his powers. The problem is, if Kirito comes in with his powers, that directly means the world that gives him his powers also comes along. You cannot separate it because the power originates from the world. If you're bringing someone to something you call a neutral verse, that means the environment is neutral. But for Kirito to have any kind of power, or any gamer to have any kind of power, the verse cannot be neutral, because it's the verse that gives them the power. That's the bit they do not understand, which I find really, really funny. You cannot bring a Kirito with some sort of powers without bringing the verse that's giving him the powers, because the guy doesn't have any powers. And if you're bringing Underworld to give Kirito his powers, guess what? The opponent, by extension, has access to the exact same power of Incarnation, because you brought over what Underworld gives Kirito. You can't just cherry pick what benefits your thing. You can't do that. Exactly. See, you guys in the chat already picked up on it. Wouldn't Incarnation not work in an environment that isn't Underworld? Exactly. The moment you bring Kirito into this neutral verse, he's a high school kid. Zero powers, no Incarnation, no swords, no sword skills, no equipment, nothing. Just his high school uniform, bumbling about like a stupid high school kid that he is. Thank you, Alp, thank you. Poe is no more alive in the world? Not correct. We never get a confirmation for Poe's death, and his body has disappeared, implying his body is still around, controlled by something or someone. Poe is still around, one way or another. I just found out about it. I thought Starbar Stream was the strongest attack. Nope, Eclipse is the strongest attack actually. Though, it's gonna be a little bit of a tangent, but when you're thinking of sword skills, like MMORPG players probably get the logic going already. There isn't exactly a direct power comparison between different types of skills. Like when taking Starbar Stream and Eclipse against each other, yes, if both go completely uninterrupted, Eclipse will definitely do more damage than Starbar Stream will. The thing is, Starbar Stream does its entire damage within 16 hits. Whereas Eclipse, for it to do its entire damage, it needs to do 27 hits. So the calculation is not exact. Like the moment you have an enemy that can start getting out of that stagger to hit back at your Eclipse, Eclipse is completely useless in that case. Because, you know, if you have time for 16 hits and 16 hits only, 17th will be blocked by your opponent, then Starbar Stream will do a whole lot more damage than Eclipse, which will have a damage curve that surpasses Starbar Stream, like from a game design logic, somewhere around 19 to 21st hit. That's when it'll start breaking even compared to Starbar Stream. And all those kinds of, you know, difficulty, power scaling stuff, not the power scaling, the idiot kind that we're handling here, the power scaling in terms of game mechanics. It starts breaking even afterwards, so if you can't pull off the entire skill properly, Starbar Stream is the more powerful one in this case. Everything like that, it's always a case-by-case basis. You can talk about the ideals, but you'll never find the ideals when it comes to that. So you need to look at a case-by-case basis. Umbrella wielder Kirito will kill you. Indeed. Yeah, exactly. You can enter the stats and equipment and all that kind of jazz, and it gets even more convoluted. I just try to stay on a basic level to say it's not that easy of a comparison to do. Like game design, when we play, everything looks so simple because it is designed to be simple. It's designed to be intuitive like that. But when you actually get into the nitty-gritty, like when you become the person who designs all the stuff, a whole lot more goes into it, and one is usually not powerful than the other when it comes to end game stuff. You just need to pick the better option suiting your case. I hope that's clear. That was a bit of a tangent. That's probably why Kirito never uses the Eclipse. That's a good point, because people say, you know, why didn't Kirito use Eclipse against the Gleam Eyes? He would have defeated it much earlier than he did with Starbar Stream because Eclipse is more powerful, right? Wrong, because if you look at when he used Starbar Stream against the Gleam Eyes, I can quickly go over to a nicer background visual just for, you know, visual sake, as I'm explaining something else, not that. Gleam Eyes literally grabbed the sword on the 15th hit, and Kirito managed to kill it with the other hand's 16th hit. 16th hit. Change the diphthong to the other T, please. When you start speaking so much, it starts slipping up. Either way, if he tried to use Eclipse in that case, you know, 15th hit with the Eclipse, Gleam Eyes grabs it. 16th hit comes in. Okay, that hits. The problem is your right hand is blocked. You can't go for a 17th hit in that case. So you're already blocked off. You can now literally cannot kill Gleam Eyes because he's still holding on to your right sword with the 15th hit. So using Eclipse in that case would be doom and gloom for Kirito, just as a comparison, you know? If you're going with that what if route, you really need to consider what is happening already. The only time he used it in the anime was by accident. Exactly, because he got into a rage against Heathcliff. Except when you play the SEO games, because they're less intuitive and more jank. Oh, I like Akuria's games, okay? I like them. Was there any other time that Kirito used Eclipse aside from Volume 1 against Kayaba? I don't remember on the top of my mind. Let me quickly give it a check. Dual Blades, the Eclipse. Volume 1, Chapter 22 only. Nope, that's the only time he ever used Eclipse in the main canon. Okay, let's keep going. Law manipulation. Because I didn't understand what law manipulation and probability manipulation is, it's not that I didn't understand, it's that your terminology sucks. Okay, law manipulation, apparently, he still fought even though he didn't have his limbs anymore. How is that law manipulation? That's just game mechanics. Like, if your legs get cut off, you still have your fucking arms, and you still can fight back. That is game logic. That's not law manipulation. Plus, his body was chopped in half and his heart was ripped out, but he continued fighting. He bent the law. No, he's just playing a game. He's inside the game world. What do you expect? It's not physically accurate, of course. Like, even fatigue itself works different in Underworld. I explained this back in Alicization Explained, the very first episode. Oh no, not the very first episode. The third episode, when Yuji and Kirito are running towards the cave. It is explained how fatigue works in Underworld, and this is how it does. You know, in real world, you run and you gradually start to get tired. In Underworld, you do not necessarily get tired. But the thing is, you have a hidden parameter, whether it's stamina or something else, it's never explained, but you have a hidden parameter that gives you a certain stamina sustaining level. And once you're above that threshold, you still don't feel tired, but you'll start seeing your HP drop down. And that's when you'll need to stop and actually start resting a bit to prevent that exhaustion from draining your HP. That's how fatigue works in Underworld. You can't just go ahead and apply real world logic. Heart is meaningless. You still have a fucking HP. Until that HP drains, you can just keep going. That's what the game says. That is the law. That's the point. And then he explains, I think that was clear enough, right? By the way, please do let me know in chat by typing out my name, because that highlights my name when you type my name. Only for those kinds of stuff. If something isn't clear and you want to let me know something wasn't clear, just type my name and tell me what wasn't exactly clear, and I will go back to that and try to clarify it further for you. Stamina after a certain threshold drains your HP, yes. Like, you can still run 5 minutes, 10 minutes until you are supposed to actually feel tired. You can run without losing any HP. Over exhausting yourself starts draining your HP, but you still won't feel tired. It's just tied into your life level. What the hell is law? I don't know. The person explains completely something else, so I still have no idea what law manipulation is supposed to be. I mean, again, my understanding of law manipulation is that if there's a law of nature, you cannot break it. If you can break the law of nature, that would mean law manipulation. That's what I understand intuitively from that. But what he explains is not breaking the law of nature in this world. So I am confused as to what it's supposed to be, if this is in fact law manipulation as he claims, which I doubt it is. And then he explains probability manipulation. He made flowers bloom even though they never supposed to bloom. That's not Probability manipulation. My understanding from probability manipulation is something like what Scarlet Witch does in the Marvel Universe, or as a different example, what Ophelia does in Fate Grand Order, Lost Belt. You see the probabilities in front of you, and you manipulate the reality to find the probability that you want to enter into. Now, I am an SAO person, but I do have enough of a background in these kinds of stuff with all the different series to understand what fucking probability manipulation is. And probability manipulation is seeing the probabilities and veering the reality over to the probability that you want. That is not at all what Kirito does. That has nothing to do with probability manipulation. That's simple incarnation, pushing sacred spatial resources into the flowers and then casting them to heal up. That's what he does. Law manipulation apparently means being good at video games. I'm actually gonna open up a window. Just give me a second. It's getting hot because I'm wearing this to look fancy. I am trying to look fancy just for you guys. I'm gonna get some water as well because that's gonna help. Okay, let's come back. But I have to look fancy because it's April 23rd. National Sovereignty and Children's Day back in Turkey. And we are trying to educate children, so I have to look proper. As proper as I can be. I don't like wearing ties. Hey there, Zako, welcome. Like, yes, Charlotte was the one who guided them, but that has nothing to do with manipulation in the first place. Anyways, okay, we continue. He's replying to my subconscious. He says, we use the strongest Kirito, so the one with all abilities that Quinella had. What? What does that have to do with anything? Plus, his subconscious won't make him hurt himself since he'll have no intention to kill himself because he would be at his greatest. What? Why? That's who he is. At his greatest, he decided to fucking kill himself. Twice. That's what these people don't get. They are trying to cherry pick stuff just to suit their narrative. They are not trying to do something objective. They have a wet dream of this omnipotent Kirito that doesn't exist in reality, and they're trying to justify his existence by cherry picking stuff. Again, Kirito didn't inherit anything from Quinella. Nothing. And then he mentions those are the simple rules for versus battle. Though those weren't rules. You stated factually wrong stuff. You didn't state any rules. And equal stats are made for proving why some characters only win because of their strength and not because their activities, their strength. I can guarantee you Kirito wins hand-to-hand combat against Goku and Naruto at the same time with equal stats. What stats are we talking about? What stats are we talking about? I thought we were in this neutral verse where there was no stats, where everyone was equal, like no benefits from other stuff. Oh, how are the stats coming in? They shouldn't have any stats, should they? What stats? Underworld doesn't even have stats. It just has object class levels for you to wield stuff. Those are not power stats. Those are equipment stats for you to wield. I love these kinds of stuff. Like, you don't even understand what the fuck they're trying to say. Exactly. He also mentioned hand-to-hand combat, right? Exactly. Where is it? Now I can guarantee you Kirito wins hand-to-hand combat. Kirito can't win hand-to-hand combat. He has no idea what the fuck to do. He did have martial arts skills in SAO. But that's not actual hand-to-hand combat skills. The hand-to-hand combat skills in SAO are clutch moves to get you out of the actual danger. I don't think the guy understands this disqualifies Kirito from using any kind of weapon at all. I think he meant close quarters combat, which should technically include swords as well. But he went with hand to hand. I don't know. The guy is not he's not the brightest tool in the shed. Dark Souls mistranslation. Oh yeah, and the best part. And what do you mean they're not stars? They're called stars, so no matter what you people say, Reiki called them stars, so they're stars. No. They said they look like stars. On the blanket that was set on the sky, below the actual stars, by Night Sky Source Release Recollection. Very simple stuff. If you read the actual books and have the level of intelligence to actually comprehend what you read, idiot. I want to have some brain cells left. No. Oh, also, you say that Underworld is small. Show prof. I am a professor of Underworld. It means show proof it's only 2 planets and 1 sun, and that those 2 planets are in the same orbit. How about I show you proof? Where did I put it? That's Reki Kawara, by the way. The author of Sword Art Online light novels. I show him proof, and we'll get back to that in a second. How he responds. Oh, I should have read this part first, because that ties into that. It's just a random line break over here for whatever the fucking reason. Of course there is. What's that? You can't? Of course not, because the only statement we have is that it's endless, so we go by that. No! Even the books don't say it's endless. It looks endless, that's for sure. That's what people see. That's what I see when I, play Destiny. go over to fucking moon. I mentioned this in the previous stream as well. Let me find a good image. Yeah, accept the fucking cookies. I don't care. So, can we open this image in a new tab, please? Like, I look at this over here. I am on the moon, playing Destiny. And fuck yes, it does look endless, doesn't it? Tons of stars. There, you can, in the middle, you can see Earth. This is like cracks on the moon, done by the Hive. There's a fucking outside galaxy over there shining really nicely. It really does feel endless, doesn't it? Well, guess what? We can only go over to Moon, to Earth, to Venus, to Mars, and a couple of other small planets or planetoids. Because that's what the game actually has. Everything else is a fucking skybox. Which is exactly what Reki's statement over here is. Underworld, the simulation Underworld, not the Underworld location itself, it has one sun and 2 planets orbiting that sun, Cardina and Admina respectively. Everything else is just a fucking skybox. How do we know that? Even before Reki made this statement. By the way, if Nace is in the chat, huge props to him to actually get in Kawahara tangled up in this entire discussion to get this answer, to be very specific. Before this, we knew this was the case. We didn't need this clarification from Reki in the first place, because we know exactly how the kernel system works. Kernel system does not relentlessly create. Kernel system adapts. It's a maintenance system. When there's a need for something new, it creates it. When there's not a need for something new, it doesn't create it. Simplest example, Sword Online Progressive Volume 2, Progressive Volume 1, Rondo of a Fragile Blade. Is it Rondo? Nah, it's the next one. The Floor 3 story, not Rondo, Progressive Volume 2. They come across Kismel, they need to make a pick. Are they gonna help Kirito and Asuna? Are they gonna help the Dark Elves? Are they gonna help the Forest Elves? They need to make a pick, and whichever one they pick, the character they are defending will sacrifice themselves to actually protect Kirito and Asuna in that case. What happens? That's the literally coded result of the quest. What happens? Asuna and Kirito manage to save Kismel, and as a result, for a couple seconds, the kernel system just has no clue what the fuck to do, because the scripted path of that quest has been diverged by Kirito and Asuna by saving Kismel specifically. So what does the kernel system do? Takes Kismel, the simple NPC AI, bumps it up to the higher level of language engine that it has. So Kismel completely adapts to the current situation and starts working with Kirito and Asuna. Kernel system is completely built up on that adaptation system. It tries to adapt to the circumstances that it's given. That's what kernel system does. So when people actually get out of Underworld, start exploring the space, Abyssal Horror was created to be an obstacle. They moved further, a new planet was created for people to inhabit, because people went there and something has to be there. Before you reach whatever that place is, there's absolutely nothing there, because kernel has no reason for something to be there. It's a computer program. You cannot simulate infinite. Concerto of Black and White, yes. Yup. Should be concerto. Oh, that's volume. Yup. Concerto of Black and White. Okay, continuing. Where were we? Exactly, that's exactly what happens. Anyways, we continue. Also, you don't seem to realize how broken administrator is. She can turn people into stone. She cannot turn people into stone. What she can do is freeze the people that she has already tempered with the piety module that she put into the head. Like when Chudelkin is turning Berkuli into stone when he's using deep freeze, he doesn't say the ID of Berkuli, the actual character ID of Berkuli. What he says is deep freeze integrator unit 001. He's literally calling out for the first integrity knight to be deep frozen. They cannot do that to regular people because they don't have access to it. That's a feature that was implanted in them via the piety module. Otherwise, instead of integrator unit, they would just call the person ID that the person has. Like if you look back into the Alicization light novels, all characters do have a character ID themselves. Even in Untitled Ring. Don't want to go into spoilers, so I'm going to keep it very vague. When Kirito is trying to figure out if Eoline is Yuji or not, he specifically looks at his user ID that is on the Stacia window. And the user ID is given something like, what is it? WLS? Nah, that's for weapons. Either way, the user ID consists of 3 letters and a couple of numbers. The letters denote where the person was born, and the numbers is basically the sequence number. If they were able to turn everyone, people, into stones, then they would use the actual person ID that the person has, not the integrator unit 001. Then he mentions Quinella can turn people into swords at any time as well, which is also not true. Again, none of these can be made if a person doesn't use remove core protection. Once someone uses remove core protection, then you can do a whole bunch of stuff. You have direct access to alter whatever you want, to implement whatever you want, and all that kind of stuff. And again, that's not a limitless thing. Like, if you're gonna implement something, you're really gonna have to do it within that remove core protection, because that expires as well. That's why Yu-Gi-Oh had to use it again. Quinella asked Yu-Gi-Oh to use it again once he was back up for a secondary maintenance, and Yu-Gi-Oh didn't do that, so she no longer had proper access to Yu-Gi-Oh at all. If she did, well, she would have frozen Yu-Gi-Oh, wouldn't she? You numbnuts. Fucking hell. She can destroy their soul. Now that comes up completely out of nowhere. I have no idea where this comes from. I genuinely don't, because, you know, deep freeze exists, yes. Turning humans into swords exists, given required permissions for both of them. She can destroy their soul. And also, etc., etc. This happens, and then there's more. I don't understand these people. And then he goes back to, and Kirito and Asuna learn all those commands, and they likely have Higur versions of them. No, they don't. Those are simple commands, system commands. They're not secrets. They're secrets within the world. Everyone else outside knows these. They are programmed in. They're not secrets. They're system commands. Idiot. Honestly, it's everything on our site. Your site is shit. It's written by people who couldn't read a simple book. And then we randomly go over to Shinon. She uses shit out of luck attack. It's not shit out of luck, is it? Speed of light attacks. Sounds more reasonable than shit out of luck. To be frank, the intelligence level of this conversation, it may as well have been shit out of luck attacks. But again, he is quite insistent on the annihilation ray using attacks that are at the speed of light, which is again blatantly false. These people think everything that is shiny, they're actually going at light speed. They're all sonic if they're fucking shining. No. No. Like, even if you look at the elements, something these people obviously did not realize, but that's not a high bar to set anyways. Even if you look at the elements, there is not a light element. Look at the element charts. Should I even bring a chart? Or should I just destroy the mystery from the get-go? We simply have luminous element, not light element. Luminous element does not mean it's a light element. Luminous means, if you quickly type luminous meaning, and it's gonna give you the dictionary result, it says it gives off light. It's bright. It's shining. It's not light itself. Whatever it is, it's just shining. It's not light, you idiots. It gives off light because it's bright. And that's why it's called a luminous element, not a light element. Light element attacks do not go at light speed because they are not light elements. They're luminous elements. Simple. Basic. This is not the thing to show up late. Well, you missed a whole bunch of stuff, yes. But yeah, as I said, there is no light speed attacks. And Shinon doesn't use speed of light attacks. And then, like, this is completely random. I have no idea where this is coming from, but he believes Gabrielle was the one who let her hit him with the last attack. No, Gabrielle didn't see it piercing through his persona. He wasn't expecting it. He was genuinely hit by Shinon. Oop. Cap fall off. He didn't let her hit him. Shinon properly hit the guy, breached his entire persona and managed to hit him properly. And in the end, that's why Gabrielle is so frustrated and just fucks off. I am not bothering with this shit anymore. That's why he does it. So Gabrielle can easily be faster than light. No, not at all. And so is Kirito. No, not at all. People don't understand what faster than light is. Let me give you an example. Speed of light. Don't take it into the same one. Okay, speed of light, 300 million per second. Speed of light divided by circumference. Okay, we can do that. There we go. That is exactly what we're looking for. It's a single Google search. This is what speed of light is. Circumference of the Earth is 40,000 kilometers. The speed of light is 300 kilometers per second. So a photon would travel around the Earth in 0.13 seconds. And Kirito takes over 20 minutes to go from... I'll pull up the Underworld map as well while we're at it. I'll pull up the fucking Underworld map. Not the Greek underworld map, goddammit, SAO. There we go. That's our underworld map. Straight from the wiki, yeah? That is the wrong wiki, you know? Oh, it's the German wiki, yeah, that's fine. It's the same picture, it's using the same assets. So that's our underworld. If Kirito was going at the speed of light, he would be able to rotate the entire underworld, roughly, assuming underworld Cardina has the same circumference as the real world, which we don't need to believe, by the way. It would take him 0.13 seconds to start here, right where my cursor is, go around and come back from the other side. That means he can go around this place 8 times in a single second, rotating the entire world. Then why the fuck would he take over 20 minutes going from this point, or rather somewhere slightly over here, these are the ruins and the, the crater, from here to over here, 20 fucking minutes, over 20 minutes. Is that the speed of light? Idiots. This is why you don't listen to VsWiki people. They have no fucking idea what they're talking about. This is beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, where were we? How long has it been? 90 minutes. Over 90 minutes. Okay, let's speed up a bit. I keep saying speed up, but there's so much stupidity going on that I can't speed up. Oh, and Shinon fucking sucks, but you see, I still gave her shit out of luck. That's the thing. Does that sound familiar at all? That is the exact equivalent of, I'm not a racist, I have black friends. I fucking hate Shinon, but I gave her speed of light. I gave her that much. I'm fair. Fuck you, she's not even speed of light. Why is Shinon speed of light if it's the bullets that go speed of light according to you? Like, the more you think about it, the more it breaks than you initially thought it breaks. It just gets worse. Did I say anything worthwhile here? Oh my god, I actually fucking replied. You know, see, that's exactly what they are. This entire convo, much like all the other VsWiki users who stumbled upon here, proves you guys are just 5-year-olds smashing figures into each other while sitting in a sandbox. For the love of God, use a spell checker to not reinforce the idea that you dropped out of middle school. Because if they went to middle school, that's where they teach you how to read something slightly larger than kid books. It's where they teach you how to analyze stuff, how to understand what the narrator is saying, how to understand what imagery is being used, etc, etc. These people, they still do think, when I say imagery, they think I'm talking about incarnation. Imagery is an actual literary thing where you describe stuff in colorful ways for people to be able to visualize it in their minds. These people still don't understand that. Oh yeah, see, this is what I said. For Kirito to have any powers, he needs to be in a game world. For his most powerful, he needs to be in Underworld. So either you bring Underworld along when you're bringing them to the neutral verse, which doesn't make it neutral, and you give him Incarnation, as well as his enemy, or you just bring fucking Kirito alone, and then he's a fucking useless kid. Can't have both. And then I'm like explaining all of these stuff. If you want, you can just pause the screen, read. I don't know, it's the exact same thing that I explained in the past 20 minutes, I guess. Kudos to you for having to put up with this nonsense. Kudos to you guys for watching. I do this for you. It's always a nice stream. You know, people are interested in the entertaining part of this. But in the meanwhile, I am entering so many different topics that people actually do learn stuff as well. As we're going through the stupidity. So yeah, I feel like it benefits everyone, you know, it's a fun little stream in the end. Speaking of the ID numbers, can they show the Underworlders' parentage? As far as we know, no. I can quickly go check something to be a little bit more specific on the ID numbers, because Untitled gave us quite a lot of information on the ID numbers, but it may take a little while until I find what I'm trying to find. Because Discord search sucks. Okay, I actually found stuff. So you see, just speaking on EO-line alone, I am not going to enter any Untitled spoilers. So no need to worry. But a character from Untitled in Underworld is called EO-line. His ID is NCD1-13091. So again, the first three letters denoting where he was specifically born. That's for system generates that ID based on where he was born. So we are it's not clarified exactly what they mean, but for example, NC, we can assume that's North Centauria, and D, we are not exactly sure. So certain things we can assume reliably because they are specific location markers, and D1 could be something like District 1 perhaps. I should probably bring that up. How would I do that? And do this. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's a bit too small. Okay. EO-line's ID, NCD1. Me just spelling letters would probably get hard to follow. His ID is NCD1-13091. NC, we can easily assume to be North Centauria. D1, potentially District 1, because North Centauria is divided into districts, you know. Or it could be... I don't know. District 1 actually does make a lot of sense now that I think about it. And after the dash, you have a string of numbers, which is basically when you were born. In a sequence, in that specific region. It's basically your unique ID. People working with databases are probably very familiar with the notation and stuff. Not the exact Underworld notation, but they know what a unique key is. And this is what a unique key is in the case of Underworld. Okay, what was I actually talking about? Okay, I was replying to Iris, I guess. We can continue. Isn't District 1 where the emperors lived in Alicization? The thing is, Quinella created districts do not necessarily need to correlate with the system IDs themselves. That's the thing, because system generates what was created by the engineers themselves, not by Quinella. So it doesn't necessarily need to, like, North Centauria District 1, if you think of, like, draw something. Paint always fucking works. Like, imagine this is Underworld. It doesn't matter what Quinella said, what Quinella built, how Underworld looks from within the system. The main town was always called Centauria since it was first built. Then, completely ignore the everlasting walls created by Quinella. In fact, ignore everything that was created by Quinella, the entire feudalist structure entirely. So what happens is, North Centauria becomes this quadrant on its own. The entire place can be North Centauria. Sure, we know Rulid is here, we know Zakaria is here, we know this is the central capital Centauria, but the system doesn't care for any of that. Isn't there an easier way to erase this? The system doesn't care about any human settlements. It doesn't have to, because human settlements were made after the system was made. So it can just say, okay, I'm gonna say within this portion, what is that fucking thing? Change it. Yep, that one. Everyone within this place is going to be District 1. Everyone in this place will be District 2. Everyone in this place, District 3. Everyone in this place, District 4. Here, District 5. Here, District 6. Here, District 7, etc., etc. You know, this is just my portrayal. This is not a factual thing, but I'm trying to say that the system classifications don't care about in-world classifications. That's what I'm trying to point. It can look entirely different. But yeah, I think that covers it. Don't save it. Okay, I'm glad that clarifies it. That means I can move on. Okay, we continue here. So you're saying that bending something that is a fact in actual world, it's not law and reality manipulation? Yes, it isn't, because it's not the actual world. It's a fucking game. Simulation. Some people do get mad when I call it a game as well, because yes, they are correct. Underworld is not a game by classification. What I'm trying to convey is it's built with a game system underneath. So for all intents and purposes, when you enter these kinds of stuff, what kind of a world it is still a game world. It's just functioning as a simulation. Like when not entering that specific technical aspect, I'm just talking on the general surface level. But yes, it's not the actual world, it's a fucking simulation world. It's no different than me playing City Skylines here. Do you even know what those terms mean? I do, but these people, they don't. Kirito is faster than light by his combat speed, and Gabrielle did let Shinon hit him. Didn't you saw how he was toying with her the whole time? Honestly, it would have been better if he would just take her soul there. He's really trying to push that I hate Shinon agenda right there, if you haven't realized. She's not the most important character in the series. She sucks. Wow, my past is so bad. I want to get stronger. Why everything hurts so much? That sounds more like Kirito than actual Shinon. But don't tell him. He's gonna be really pissed if you tell him. But the facts are, she uses light element. Wrong. She uses luminous elements charged into arrows with the ability of her bow. She doesn't use light elements. Light elements don't exist. There are no light elements in Underworld. They're luminous elements. Luminous means shiny. Clearly just an element that's shiny. It's not light. It's an element that is shiny. I cannot stress that enough. It's not light. Idiots. But Kirito, who needed so long, was pre-200 years one. Okay, here he is trying to argue that, you know, when I said why does Kirito take so long to move from that place to that place if he was going faster than light? What are people doing at this hour? Come on. You probably can't hear it because my mic doesn't pick up, but it's really an annoying sound coming from the outside. Anyways, here he's trying to argue, oh, that Kirito was before the 200 years. He wasn't faster than light there. He was faster than light after the 200 years. And I say, bullshit. Because I hear this quite often as well. These idiots claim Kirito was going faster than light because Lorane and Shtika mention that Kirito is arriving when they're fighting the annihilation. The abyssal horror, they were coming in while they were shining. The thing is, these people, because they don't actually read the books, they just read individual sentences and cherry pick what they want to pick. don't realize that Kirito and others are shining because when they first arrived in the outer atmosphere of Cardina, they created a shield around them using elements. That's why they're shining. The shine is elements protecting them from the cold. Idiots. Oh, please don't ask United Ring questions. That is way too much of a spoiler question. Oh, can you fuck off, please? Do I really need to close the damn window? It's 9 p.m. You cannot do stuff with fucking hammers at this hour. He says, what do you mean Administrator can't destroy souls? She destroyed floodlights many times. No, she didn't. I am not sure if I'm supposed to say anything else here, but... No, she didn't. VsWiki is... VsWiki is very credible, but some people just don't get us. That's why so many shonen fans are sad when Kirito destroys their verse. VsWiki is very credible. You heard it here, folks. Fuck yeah. Most credible source, headcanons of 7-year-olds. This is my response to individual points. You can pause and read if you want to. It's basically what I said earlier. But the takeaway from that is pretty much the final sentence. VsWiki's level of stupidity is very hard to reach for many of us. That's why people don't understand you guys. Because people prefer hearing out facts, not the wet dreams of some 10-year-olds. Basically what Versus Battle Wiki SAO people are. Yep, Shinon hit Gabriel, he got frustrated after she hit him, that's why he didn't continue the fight. Exactly, end of discussion. Not for these idiots. Like, everything like that, even the Shinon and Gabriel bit. You can see how they're trying to take the scene and try to twist it into their fantasy scene rather than what's actually is there. And then try to portray that as facts. That's not how facts work. Yeah, on the light speed portion, I mentioned it takes about 4 to 6 hours to get from Cardina to Admina, and if they were going light speed, it would take between 3 minutes to 22 minutes. I took as reference something that would actually take longer than 2 planets in the same orbit. I took Earth and Mars as a reference point for the speed of light travel between 2 celestial bodies rotating around the sun. If they're in optimal places, like let me actually bring up Paint again, this is very useful. So we have the sun, that's the orbit for Earth. Oh, that's a fucking egg now. And let's say that's the orbit for Mars. I am drawing with a fucking mouse, so you're gonna have to excuse the fact that it's skewed so much. Now, imagine Earth is here, and there are a couple other things like momentum, because Earth is rotating one way, Mars is rotating one way. If you launch this way, you get more speed, etc., etc. Ignoring that bit, let's act like they are static, just for the simplicity of the argument. Mars and Earth are closest to each other when they are at the same line around their own rotations, right? This, in light speed, takes 3 minutes, roughly, give or take. In the most unoptimal case, when Earth is here and Mars is on the other side of the rotation, with light speed, that takes about 20 to 22 minutes. That is light speed. In the case of Underworld, can this get any larger? Yes. In the case of Underworld, we're over here, that is Solus. Admina and Cardina share the orbit, as far as we know at the moment. So there is a single orbit line. When Earth is, Cardina is here, Admina is going to be somewhere around here, on the opposite side. So they're in the same orbit. It shouldn't even take 22 minutes if Kirito was going at light speed. It's the other side of the orbit. The thing is, according to information we have from Untitled Ring 4, as well as if you check Alicization lasting in the final page, Alicization lasting says it takes around 3 hours with the dragon jets. Where is that again? Yeah, that's the space beast arriving. I don't want that. Yeah, you see? Here's the paragraph. Page 262, 261 is where the paragraph begins in Yampress translation, very beginning of the prologue 3. The rules of the Underworld Space Force were absolute, but even their drill instructor couldn't see them out beyond the atmosphere. And it was a whole 3-hour journey to reach the companion star of Admina. Companion star means planet in this case. Like, it is the companion around the same star. That's how Underworld refers to their planets. So going from Cardina to Admina with the dragon jets, it takes 3 hours. Volume 18. 3 hours. The 10 minutes is completely bullshit. That comes from somewhere else, where either Shtika or Lorene mention it's been 10 minutes since they took off from their planet to get where they are. Again, another sign of idiocy on the people who claim it takes 10 minutes. And in Untitled Ring 4, Eoline mentions Kirito would take about 6 hours to reach Admina from Cardina. Again, one is a dragon jet, the other would be Kirito. You can also take regular transport vehicles. Everything varies in its speed because of their different structures. But it doesn't change the fact that none of them are 22 minutes or below. That's not light speed. That's regular propulsion speed. I mean, with the secret arts that they have, of course, not the propulsion we have. With our propulsion, it takes way too long to reach anyways. Okay, there are no questions in the chat, so we can keep going. There we go. Okay, first off, where does he say he needs 6 hours for the travel? Untitled Ring 4. You're welcome. Plus, he will need to travel from Cardina past Solus to Admina, so it's bigger gap than you think. Again, traveling from Earth, going past the Sun, over to Mars, when it's on the other side of the orbit, that takes 22 minutes. 22 minutes. And this distance is logically more than this one. Like, the equivalent of this is Earth's rotation over here. This is the equivalent of the Underworld situation. This is just the worst case scenario with Mars. What do you mean not light speed? They are literally called light rays. No, they are not. Plus, there's a thing called death to the author. Okay, this is where he says, okay, Reki is just speaking out of his ass. Like, this is the stupidest thing you can do. He claims Reki is contradicting what's said in the story. And that's where I'll actually mention the narrator style, because of course these people are not capable of understanding what type of narrator Underworld uses. The thing is, there are two different types of narrators the entire War of Underworld from volume 15 to volume 18 uses. One is the regular narrator that only has access to what the character knows. The character is not necessarily the narrator, but the narrator only has access to what the characters have access to. The only time Reki breaks format and brings in an omniscient narrator is when he's talking about the backstories of the characters, which are I can't. Oh, sorry. I can find an example. Nope. Here. Sun's arrival. Okay, Asun and Iskan have teamed up already, so it has to be earlier. Pretty sure it's gonna be in this book. Okay, it's gonna be in the previous one then. I either need Sheta or Dakira or Renly. All three works. Renly works. Renly has a nice picture that I can identify. And this is going over to the JL part. Backstory of Renly. Okay, this is when Renly sees Kirito shaking like a phone on silent. Come on, where's my Renly backstory? I feel like I'm in the wrong place because I'm following anime, whereas backstory is mentioned slightly somewhere away. I really do want to find an example, so I'll go ahead and try to find Sheta, because it's very specific when Reki switches the narrator style. He does a very specific thing. Maybe we go a bit more and Sheta instead. Sheta's backstory, where are you? Eldria's death. Yeah, the guy keeps saying Quinella destroyed souls. That never happens, indeed. Okay, Iskan and Sheta fight. Oh, come on, why can I not find any of them? Either way, he does that. It is taking too long, so I will have to do that some other time. Like, okay, I think I found it. Wait, why am I looking for Sheta's backstory? That's stupid. Sheta's backstory is not here. This is when her sword was created. If you check for... It's in this book somewhere. I can't find on the top of my head. I have to actually read it, and that's gonna take like 15-20 minutes to find exact examples at this point, seeing that I can't find them. Check for Renly's backstory whenever it's mentioned. Check for Dakira's backstory before they were knights. That's what I mean by backstory. Because these characters don't have access to their memories before their integration. Yeah, that's correct. Integration. The narrator completely switches tone. It even mentions stuff like, of course, Renly didn't know this, of course, Dakira didn't remember this, etc., etc. Those kinds of stuff you will see. And then it starts explaining stuff these characters have no way of knowing. How Dakira had feelings for another female character and eventually went to one of the Axiom Church priests to... what's it called? You speak to the priest, about your sins. I don't know the exact term for it. But she did that, and then she was apprehended and became an Integrity Knight. Because Dakira has zero access to those memories, that's when the narrator style completely switches over to that. To an omniscient point where it has all the information that the characters do not have. Aside from those backstory portions, the narrator style stays completely, strictly on the character it's following right now. So in the Alicization lasting portions, the narrator is consistently following Shtika's perspective. So everything you see here from the narrator in the Prologue 3 chapter over here, it's what Shtika knows about the world. This year, none of this has an omniscient narrator. The narrator here does not have all the information in the world. The narrator here only has information that Shtika has. The only time, as I said, there is an omniscient narrator is when Reki is explaining the backstories, pre-night backstories of the Integrity Knights, which is all in volume 16, Alicization Exploding. Integration, synthesization, yes, synthesis, not synthesization. Yes, I am actually Turkish. Thank you very much. What am I confessing? Volume 16, around 40th page in Polish version. I can go ahead and find it. I just don't want to waste more time on it. Okay, Fanatio I can find, I guess. Usolbert's here. Yes, there we go. Fanatio is crying. Confirmation. Blood erupted. Okay, that's not backstory. For some reason, I cannot find the backstories of the characters. That is when she did right? Yeah, that's when Sigurosig attacks. Atatürk down. Okay, this is too much. Like I literally cannot find the backstories of the characters. They're usually 2 or 3 paragraphs in length. It's hard to pinpoint without properly reading. I cannot find it through glossing over. Oh, there we go, there we go. Dakira just blocks off the giant hammer of Sigurosig, and then we switch over to the omniscient narrator. Dakira was born and raised in a little seaside village in Söderkrua, or however you need to pronounce that. Her parents were poor fishers without even a last name, yet despite that she grew up strong and healthy and helped out with the family work until she committed a taboo at age 16. She fell in love with a friend of the same sex who was 1 year older. She couldn't have acted on those feelings, of course. In her anguish, Dakira went before the altar of the empty church lake at night and prayed to Stacia for forgiveness. That altar was linked to Central Cathedral's automated Senate organ, and Dakira was taken to the Axiom Church for violating the taboo, wiped clean of all memory, and made into an Integrity Knight. The older girl whom Dakira had fallen in love with, whose name she could no longer remember, looked just like a little bit like Vice Commander Fanatio. That's all. Like, the narrator completely changes the tone, goes specifically into the character's past, cuts off the current world, goes into that omniscient narrator mode for 2-3 paragraphs. It starts over here on my middle finger and ends in my little finger over here. That's 2-3 paragraphs. In the entire thing of Fanatio versus Sigurosig, that's the only bit where there's omniscient narrator. Aside from that, Reki specifically stays in a character limited narrator. The same thing you can find with Renly's backstory. What was that? If you have the Polish translation, that was 40th page. I couldn't find it glossing over real quick because 2-3 paragraphs, that's hard to pinpoint. Sheta, I believe 1 or 2 paragraphs about how she created such a bloodbath at the 4 Empire Unification tournament that they even had to destroy all the records of that year's Unification tournament when Sheta was synthesized. Eldria, I'm not sure if Eldria has any backstory. We get a little bit of her mother, but not specifically a backstory like the 3 I just mentioned, etc. Those kinds of stuff. Anyways, I know it took a bit long to find one of those 2 paragraphs, but there you go. Sorry about taking so long. I just need to go through the entire thing. Not the easiest thing to do. Okay, where were we? Administrator was able to destroy floodlights of several lower class people. Again, she didn't do that. What she did was get access to their floodlight, which is something she can only do if she's given permission, and then turn their bodies into swords. She didn't even touch their floodlights. Their floodlights, obviously, same as Poe's case when he was turned into a tree, the floodlight just starts devolving at a certain point because there is 0 stimulus, 0 senses, etc. All that kinds of stuff. A similar thing happens to the senators on the Senate. They were being fed with tubes. They had no limbs. They were just stuck in that box, constantly chanting commands. It's the same thing that happens to them. You start losing your humanity because physically you're no longer a human. Physically and functionally you're no longer a human. And that's what devolves their floodlight. Quinella didn't do anything to their floodlights. Plus, like I already said, if you don't directly debunk our site, come on. I'm gonna pull an IDAPS here. Come on, don't act like there was none of that. There was 3 hours and 30 minutes of it here, and 2 entirely separate videos, both around 10 to 15 minutes in length, specifically dedicated to proving you idiots wrong. And this is the second live stream that's already over 2 hours long. 2 hours and 15 minutes, but take off those 15 minutes because I was searching specific paragraphs for the past 15 minutes. Okay, now where were we? We read these parts, That's long response. VsWiki is credible. But some people just don't get us. Oh, beautiful. I think we were... Yep, there we go. Plus, like I said, even if character sucks, you need to accept what happened with it. I am telling you as things are happening. This guy isn't. This guy is running with his headcanon. And it's funny, usually you are defensive against SAO characters, but looks like you hate Shinon as well. Where the fuck did I hate Shinon? Just because I said she doesn't have light speed attacks. Does that mean I hate Shinon? No, I hate your idiocy. Shinon is normal. Shinon is a nice character. You're not. Your stupid texts are not. And I hate your stupid texts. They're filled with stupid. Then he still keeps on going, claiming I hate SAO characters. I have SAO characters that I hate. I hate Sugo Nobuyuki. I hate Chudel King. And he is Chudel King. Don't correct my pronunciation. Who else do I hate? I hate fucking Morte. And the other Laughing Coffin members. That's pretty much it. Okay, here's my response to the earlier things. You can pause and read if you want to. But I am moving on. Now, he's responding to my travel time arguments. This one, you know, light speed, worst case scenario, even if you're on the opposite side of the orbit, with light speed, it takes 22 minutes to get to Mars. Whereas it takes 3 to 6 hours to travel from Cardina to Admina, despite being in the same orbit. And then he says, this is how's calculate travel speed in SAO? Who said it? Who but the Versus Battle Wikia people said it? You guys can't even read basic texts. How are you doing maths? He's not even saying what the calculation is. He's just saying this is how I calculate travel speed in SAO. What did you just fucking calculate? You didn't even give me any numbers. I gave you exact numbers from the books. And I don't even know who Bereus is, but apparently it's the same thing as when Bereus crossed half the universe, and honestly, horror was better feat of traveling to the edges of the infinite universe. Again, he still thinks the universe in Underworld is infinite when it isn't. There's just a single sun, 2 planets orbiting around it, and a nice little skybox that looks infinite, like every other simulation / game. Replying to my Shinon comments, because I was like, why the fuck do you think I hate Shinon? And he's like, well, no, you didn't defend her, so I took it as you agreeing with me. No, you're an idiot. I am not agreeing with you. Why would I agree with you? He still insists she can literally destroy floodlights if she has person ID. No, she can't. No, she can't. that person has to give her permission to alter their floodlight, to alter their entire object, if we're speaking from the simulation perspective. And again, even when she has access to their object, she can't just destroy floodlights. All she did was transmorph their body into a sword. Oh, I remember this. Okay. Another things why Underworld is infinite, it's because it's BQs, it's different dimension. Underworld is a different dimension, everyone. Underworld is a fucking different dimension. And he also seems two greatest Kirito debaters agreed with that. Star King Demon Lord and Hayato 050. I believe this Hayato 050 person is someone who contacted me before with this bullshit. And he's an idiot. And Star King Seaman Lord, I will show up in a second. He apparently destroyed everyone on our SAO subreddit. So this is the user history for Star King Seaman Lord, this person. He has -3 comment karma. He created his account 18 hours ago just to type this bunch, all of which is factually incorrect. I'll give credit where credit is due. This person actually does use a spell checker, so you won't find typos in his answers, which is good. It makes it easier to read, you know. It's much more convenient to look at. You're not trying to guess what the person is trying to say. But writing properly doesn't mean much when you're not making any sense on an inherent level. And this guy can't go over that barrier either. Much like any other people you'll see from VsWiki on the SAO side. I am specifying on the SAO side because rightfully some people came to me and were like, VsWiki, not everyone is retarded here. I agree, that's my fault. When I talk about VsWiki, I am specifically talking about their SAO department, who is filled with these kinds of idiots. I have no experience with its other departments, with its other franchises, series, with its other fans, but the SAO side, quite low on the intelligence tier. But yeah, you can pretty much pause and read if you have anything to read. But again, it's all the exact same stuff. Like, one person threw all this bullshit at VsWiki, and all these people are just taking that and regurgitating it. They're like, you know the meme, your friend wants to copy your homework and you're like, yeah, but change a couple words please. They do exactly that. It's always the same arguments, none of which make sense, all of which are factually incorrect. And you see, the hopes and prayers were described as stars, but Incarnation turned those wishes and hopes into actual stars. When the fuck did this happen? They were already described as stars. They were already Incarnation, but then Incarnation turned those wishes and hopes that were already described as stars into actual stars. When everybody in Underworld gave their hopes and wishes to Kirito, they gave it to Kirito, but then they appeared in the sky as stars. Like, what the fuck is even happening here? The guy is completely belligerent. He's just typing words back to back, hoping something sticks. Oh, he turned the Underworld sky into an infinite night sky. No, he didn't. Nothing about it is infinite. It literally says it covered the sky. Like, infinite doesn't even come into the equation here. It's absolutely ununderstandable with these people. Completely mind-boggling. But yeah, that's the Seaman Lord Kirito person who absolutely destroyed everyone on the subreddit and educated everyone with his infinite wisdom, as you can see. As infinite as Kirito's infinite night sky, I'll say. Oh, you see, also Seaman Lord decided to go to Reddit and teach you some stuff. Perfect. The guy claims that Yampress translations suck, but they don't. Exactly, I don't understand the Yampress translation sucks argument either. Like, when Defan even doesn't like his own translations because it's part of his old work when he wasn't as experienced. Even Defan, the translator himself, says, okay, these are not good translations. These were my early works. I didn't know any better. These guys say, oh, this is the perfect translation. It's absolutely 100% correct because I absolutely know everything I'm talking about. Even Defan says they are not as good. And the only thing with Yampress is just the styling change. Like Yampress, with its light novels, they try to westernize it, remove the honorifics or westernize the honorifics. Nothing else is different. It's exactly the same. And in fact, back on SAO Wikia, we compared Yampress's versions with 3 or 4 other translations, as well as the Japanese raw, and they all came down to the exact same thing. We actually did this over at Wikia. We used the Polish translation, we used the French translation, we used the Japanese original, and one more we used to compare to Yampress. But yeah, we literally did this, and it all comes down to the same thing. Who came up with this crap? Versus Battle Wiki. Oh, you see, he now that the Seaman Lord actually commented on Reddit, he's picking exactly what the Seaman Lord says. This guy, Kirito the Lord Chad, even his name is broken, it should be Kirito the Chad Lord. He has absolutely zero opinions. He's just repeating what the Seaman Lord says over here. I'll make it full screen. There we go. Where is it now? You see? Oh, that's not good. There we go. Above is what the Seaman Lord says, below is the Lord Chad. He literally saw that he commented on Reddit and then copied his whatever the fuck he says, changes a couple words and presents it as his own stuff. You know, I knew this was what it is. No, you're wrong. Seaman Lord is wrong. Your entire stupid wiki is wrong because you guys don't know how to read fucking books. Simple as that. Oh yes, Aramalja, thank you. When I set up the live stream, apparently he went over here and commented, well, he's making a video now. By the way, just to be clear, I was planning on doing this live stream even before he kept telling me to make a video about it. You know, I planned this entire stream, the Children's Day Special Edition for April 23rd, matching our holiday back in Turkey, just to have a theme. Way earlier than before this idiot claimed I wouldn't be able to make a video. That's why I didn't even reply to him. Even before, he mentioned it once before, but I never replied to it because I was already gonna do it. Otherwise, it has taken 2 hours and 30 minutes, and we had a couple of tangents. So I don't feel like going into other comments. There are 1 or 2 more One was DM UA, this guy. If I remember correctly, this guy is the one who wrote up most of the bullshit that comes from a couple of years ago. I really wanted to go into this, but having taken 2 hours and 30 minutes, I won't. Maybe another day. So if you have any questions, do ask them now in the chat, and I will go ahead and answer your questions rather than going into more stupidity at this point. Okay, let's bring that down. Bring my amazing painting out. But yeah, I am pretty much taking your questions now. Can I change to a full camera perhaps? Can I copy over a bunch of these stuff? Copy the chat, copy the alerts, copy the text, and turn over to the camera. Paste them. Can I not paste them? Copy. Get over here. Paste reference. Oh, those are too big. No, that is not what I intended to do. Go back. No. Just remove those four. There we go, that suffices. I already have a bunch of stuff actually. Oh yeah, this is fine. This is perfectly fine. Who are your top 10 favorite characters in SAO? In no specific order. Shasta, Kirito, Asuna, Rain, Fanatio, because she's a massive troll. Yujio, Klein. Eiji. Berkuli. Quinella. That's 10. You can definitely make a meme out of Kirito shook the universe with how many power scalers who are using that as an info. It's a sad world, man. That's what happens when you let people like the versus battle wiki SAO people have the platform to share their bullshit. You know, these people are the... It's much more smaller in scale, of course, but they are the equivalent of the flat earthers. That's the best example I can give you. Like, flat earthers, they claim the earth is flat, and they don't care whatever it is that you have to say to them. These people are the exact same. Those people don't listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson, all the astronauts, all those people. These people at Versus Battle Wiki, they don't listen to the author, they don't listen to the book itself, which is hilarious when you think about it. They don't listen to the actual Sword Online Wikia. They don't listen to the translator that they are using the translations of. Then what the fuck are you doing? Is Kayaba an AI? That is actually a great question. Sadly, there is no easy answer to it. In fact, if you ask me, okay, I'm gonna slow down the chat a bit, I'll go up. If you ask me, there isn't even a fixed answer because it completely depends on what your perspective of an AI is. What Kayaba is, his entire consciousness uploaded over to the internet. Now, depending on your perspective on what a soul, what a human is, you'll either say, okay, that's the copy of the real thing that's been uploaded to the internet, or you'll go, okay, that's actually Kayaba transferred himself onto the internet. So depending on what your perspective on the act itself is, You can claim he's an AI or you can claim he's not an AI. So it completely depends on how you perceive the act of transferring your consciousness over to the internet. Like an example would be teleportation. Technically speaking, in our worlds, teleportation would happen something like, you're in this location, the device completely deconstructs your molecules and recreates your molecules over here. Now, would you say the person who teleported over here, is that the exact same person? Or is that a new person because he was deconstructed here and recreated entirely over here from scratch? Is that a copy or is that the real thing? And that is the question you need to answer. So it all depends on your perspective. In my opinion, if you teleport this person, deconstruct, reconstruct, this is that person. It's not a copy of it with exact same things. That is the real person. But someone can say, okay, you just copied this, destroyed this, and created this based on the data you copied over. And that's also correct. You know, technically speaking, that is correct. And if you look from that perspective, then the teleported person over here, that becomes a copy. It's the exact same dilemma, not dilemma, but you know, the perspective change with Kayaba's situation. So that's something you have to answer for yourself. I'm in a Gamerturk livestream. I used to comment on every video and then my college started. It's been half a month since I commented or joined any livestream. Feel so blessed. Welcome. Welcome, Jennifer. Welcome. It's the end of the stream, but welcome. Where was I in chat? Oh my god, the chat jumped. I am surprised that versus battle wiki is still this popular. It's the SEO, man. Fandom, and previously known as Wikia, has incredibly good SEO thingies working in the background. So whenever you search for a question, it is gonna try to serve. If you're trying to power scale, it's immediately gonna serve you versus battle wiki, and you can't prevent that. And it's not particularly popular, but it is what Google serves when you put in a simple question. I mean, to be frank, it is quite infamous if you actually look into the specific series communities. As I said at the beginning of the stream, people on YouTube laugh at versus battle wiki. People on Discord laugh at versus battle wiki. People on Reddit laugh at versus battle wiki. Like when the primary collection of fans keep laughing their asses off at what you're saying, you're probably doing a bad job at being popular. He's more like a digital ghost than an AI. The exact term the books use is a digital echo. So take that what you will. But again, whatever he's called, you still run into the same problem because it's a generated term, you know? You say it's a digital echo, then the person asks, what's a digital echo? Is a digital echo a copy of a person or the person itself? And then that's just pushing the trouble onto a different term. It's not solving the perspective. Again, as I said, it's something you need to answer for yourself based on your own perspective. There is not a wrong answer there. I like Kirta as well, but these people give us fans a bad name. That's one of the main reasons why I keep doing this. That's also one of the main reasons why I said things about Foxen that I said all those years ago, and I still will say when the next Sword Online stuff comes out, because I know he's gonna shit the bed as usual. You know, when there's misinformation, it doesn't benefit anyone. So correcting that misinformation, it can only be a good thing. I know my attitude is not always the best, especially in written language. The problem is that doesn't directly stem from me, but due to the limitations of the written language. You know, you say things with a tone when you're speaking, but then when you type that into, you know, text, that's completely neutral. There is not a single thing to define your tone when it's turned into a text. And that's where all of it gets lost, and I don't put the attention, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't put the care to translate what I'm saying into a written language. I just write as I think them. Especially on somewhere like Twitter, you know, you're already limited in regards to what you can type. It just doesn't work there. But aside from that, since I am already talking to the people, you know, who know me, I feel like it doesn't hurt so much to keep my style. You know, people will be still reading what I write in my own tone. They know how I talk, they know how I pronounce certain things, they know my accent, you know. When I write something, people who know me will read it in my own voice. And they'll get what I say. It only becomes a problem when what you do reaches an audience that you previously didn't expect. And to be honest, I am not a huge fan of idiot-proofing my stuff. That's not a kind way of putting it, but it's usually the, let's say, you know what I mean. It's the people who want to create trouble, who try to create something wrong with what you said. And I don't want to cater to those people. If something blows out, I'd much rather come out and clarify myself than having to censor myself into a different style. What do you like about Eiji? Eiji is pretty much the person that Kirito would become if Asuna didn't exist. That's what I like about him. Can't wait to see how Untitled Ring goes more in depth on Kayaba and his whereabouts. Don't hold your breath, man. Don't hold your breath. It's for your own good. Soul cannot be copied because you can't find the soul. What is a soul? That's the question you need to answer for saying that. You actually got me with your SAO first day trailer. It was so sad when it turned out to be an April Fool's joke. We put a lot of care into creating the first day trailer. And I hope whenever you watch it, it gives you a nice sense of nostalgia. That was the goal. Just even after April Fool's, people should be able to go back and watch it and enjoy the entire journey with that wave of nostalgia hitting them in the face. Oh my god, the chat is going so fast. Soul is not a religious concept, no. Soul is a metaphysical concept that religion borrows for its own stuff. The concept of soul is much more old than the religion you're following. Oh my god, so much philosophical talk about what a human is, what an AI is. Okay, I think I'm almost caught up with the chat. Also, why didn't Kirito and Asuna age in 200 years? Did they use what Quinella did? We don't know what exactly they did, but yes, that is the obvious implication. They just froze their ages. And if you want to have a little bit more thought on it, I can go back to how diving with an STL seems to act like exactly how Axel World works. Like STL just scans your self-image and you are brought over to the world in your own image. That's why when Stacia, Solus, and Terraria land, they look exactly as their game selves, because that's what they think they will look like. Despite the fact that those god accounts, they weren't programmed to look like those people. You know? So that may just be an effect of using an STL to dive as well. It's just something to think about. What am I looking forward to the most with the series? Currently, it's just a progressive movie, man. I'm really excited about the progressive movie. As I said in my explained videos for progressive trailers, both trailers have given me a whole lot of stuff to look forward to and gave me a lot of faith that it's being adapted as it should. Even with Mito's inclusion, I am very excited to see what they will do with Mito, because it is filling a huge blank that we had with Asuna in the light novels, because we immediately started 3 weeks into the game with Kirito's perspective in the light novels. So getting those 3 weeks from Asuna's perspective, even before she dives, that's a perfect addition, and it's going to give a whole lot of context to what we read in the light novels in regards to Asuna's approach to the game. Hey there, Zara, welcome. About to end the stream, by the way. I have caught up with the chat and there doesn't seem to be many questions. I am still waiting for the official translation of Progressive Volume 7. Why still? The book came out quite recently in Japan. Hopefully we'll get it within the year though. You guys should make the full version of the first day. Well, I am gonna do the usual story of the past for the first day, but don't expect us to do any kind of animation with it. I'm simply gonna be narrating the entire story. The word just didn't come to my mind. Almost 3 hours, man. It's a long time to speak in the heat of this room with a fucking shirt on me, so I look proper. Oh yeah, Progressive Volume 8 is dropping in summer in Japan. The reason why it's so fast is Reiki wrote way too much for Progressive 7, so they split it into 2 books. That's why it's able to come out so fast. Don't expect the next volume to come in a couple months. But yeah, I guess this is it. Final chance for questions, otherwise I'm wrapping up the stream. Thank you. Have to look good for a special day in Turkey. Volume 9 will probably come out in like 3 years. Probably gonna be 1.5 years, to be honest. Reiki will be working with the movie, and he still needs to come out with some Axel World and Isolator volumes. And I still expect him to continue with a yearly December schedule for United Ring. So Progressive 9, don't hold your breath in the next year. How far do you think Progressive will go on? To floor 25? I guess floor 25 is the best point where Progressive can properly end. We can just end Progressive with the end of the L4 campaign, but that's gonna be a bit unsatisfactory because we know Kirito and Asuna still continue after the L4 campaign, and the real break happens on floor 25. That's why floor 25 would be a perfect place to just, okay, wrapping up here. Okay then, how about we wrap up? Thank you very much for joining the stream. It was quite hot in my room. It was quite enjoyable. Thank you for participating in the chat. Hopefully I was able to clarify things. And sorry for hurting your brain cells so much with the stuff that's being spouted in the comments. But yeah, we'll see when I will have to do one of these stupid things again. Until then, please do stay cool. When does Klein join the front lines again? We do not know, but I expect Klein to appear on floor 10 story in Sword Art Online Progressive. And yeah, aside from that, take care, stay cool, bye bye.